What's up, Casselberry? Welcome to episode 163. Woo!
Yeah.
163, nearly as old as America.
And as Andy.
Burn. Okay, well, funny you should start with a joke, Carlos, because today is a funny episode. We have some special guests from another local improv troupe, and we are excited to create some laughs and make some memories with them. And so I thought, as an icebreaker today, what is the funniest thing that you have ever done? Now, I realize it's a big question. You're going to have to search the memory banks to find it. But who's got a funny story, and the more embarrassing, the better? Let's throw it to Carlos.
All right. I think for me, the one that comes to mind is one time my parents do listen to this podcast, but my mom does know this story, so I'll put that disclaimer out there. One time...
Do you need to preemptively apologize as well?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Perdón, mami. One time my mom was not in a very great mood, and she was, kind of telling us that we don't help around the house and that we did this wrong or that we did that chore wrong. And I said, I'm sorry, we'll take care of it. And I told her I had prepared her some tea because I could tell that she may be tired.
Yes.
And I made her some sleepy time tea, and she had the tea and she sat down on the couch and she took a nap, and she woke up and she was in a much better mood. And I didn't tell her about that until about 10 years later.
Very smart.
That is smart.
Yeah. I think that was one of my best pranks.
That's smart. Do you mind if I go next, ladies?
Go
Because
for it.
your story triggers a story in me because I was wrestling with it. There was one day early in our marriage when I wasn't feeling very well. I had trouble sleeping. So Tracy said, well, take some NyQuil. But because I wasn't feeling well, I didn't know the dose well. So I just kind of chugged it. And I was asleep for 27 hours. So what you did to your mom, I did to myself.
There you go.
And I did not wake up happy, so that didn't work. Who's next on this funny episode?
Oh man, this is just a story I tell. I don't know if it's funny per se, or it's not.
We'll be the judge of that.
I
Leah.
wasn't funny.
Robin, do you have the canned laughter track just to make Leah feel better? Okay.
No, but I was not funny. It's just something that happened to me actually in Casselberry, right by Secret Lake Park. Have I told this story before?
We're going to need a few more clues before we determine that.
Okay.
Let's assume not.
Okay, so in COVID, everyone was running. So, of course, I decided to run because I couldn't do anything but go outside. And so I was running by Secret Lake Park, and something hit me in the back of my head.
Oh, no.
First thought, someone's attacking me. But it got back up, and I was like, oh, no, what was that? And it was a hawk. And I had gotten too close to the nest, and it attacked my head.
No way.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know if that's funny or tragic.
I know. I don't know why I thought of it in this moment,
Yeah.
but I just thought I'd share.
Yeah, part of me wants to laugh at you falling over, but that's hurtful and rude, and I don't want to be that guy.
It's a good story, though.
It is a great story.
It's
It's a great
to tell. So,
story.
yeah, there's hawks in Casselberry. Be careful.
And as a kind of public information podcast, maybe you can warn the good people of Casselberry where that hawk's nest is.
I'm sure whoever lives by Secret Lake Park knows, because I Googled it and went on Facebook, and it seems like it was a common thing that was happening. So people were like, make sure you take your kids on the other side of the sidewalk. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Hawks.
Yeah, Revenge of the Hawks.
That's a good story. Robin, you are a lady who is perpetually bringing joy to people and doing funny things. What do you got for us?
Well, this is back when I was a child, and I wasn't the reptile enthusiast that I am today.
Okay.
I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
Well, Robin's got snakes.
Oh, yeah, she
A
used to...
We
snake.
need to
The
discuss.
snake was actually on the podcast once.
A snake.
It was hysterical. Okay.
I thought you didn't know that she had been a child.
Well, it was a while ago. It was a while. Totally respect that. Okay.
It came into existence. When I was about 10 and terrified of alligators, and I swore sharks were going to come up the drain, that sort of thing. We went to Cypress Gardens, which is now Legoland, but the original Cypress Gardens.
Yes.
And there's this boat tour, right? And I was like, I don't want to be on it, but my family's like, just be on it. And there was a statue of an alligator on the bank that we saw. So I'm calming down, and then I look, and I scream, where the guy giving the tour almost jumped out of the boat because he was like, "Why is she screaming?"
Oh, so you screamed at a fake alligator.
I did,
I
which
can
is
see why that would be off-putting.
it was it was.
Yes. All right. Well, aren't we a funny
guess-
bunch?
was that not
Oh, I
funny?
was just gonna say, was it like concrete
It was
colored?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like when you're just and
I see.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Is that not funny?
Aren't you grateful that Casselberry doesn't have many statues that can freak Robin out when?
Listen, right now you need to be
Randomly.
concerned that I would be on the news because I tried to pet the alligator. That's what we need to be watching out for
Oh
now.
yes, yes. But now you're a reptile lover, so all
Yes.
is well. Yeah. Okay, so now we go to our hard-hitting Casselberry in the news. This is a topic that might be a little bit sensitive, but we want to share it because it has received a lot of traffic, and I want to share it too, maybe just to offer another side to the story as well. As everybody knows, we recently experienced a storm together. And I don't know if you were able to perceive it, but there was a collective anxiety rise in our community as we all got nervous about that. The storm passed, fortunately, pretty well for us here in good old Casselberry. But we had another storm a day later when it was shared that building permits are required to fix fences that had
And
come
home
down.
repairs.
And home repairs. And I think because everybody's anxiety was high and exhaustion was low, this Facebook post by our city got a lot more traffic than perhaps it needed, and especially traffic from local news and from around the country as well. The controversy was around the fact that a day after the hurricane, the city put out that permits were available and were needed if you're going to do some fence repair or home repair, and there was a cost associated to that. The discussion was that some folks felt this was unsensitive and unhelpful at a difficult time. Just quickly, share your thoughts in an honoring way.
I mean, I definitely see where the people are coming from. So looking at the post now, there's 1.3 thousand angry emojis.
Ugh.
There's a lot of almost 5,000 comments.
Yes.
And yeah, I looked at the date and it was that Thursday following Hurricane Milton. So it was like the day after. I know where the city is coming from, I'm sure. But I think the timing of it, and people are a little bit more worried about their safety than they are maybe about permits. So I get both sides, but I
Yeah.
do feel where about 5,000 people are coming from.
That's good. Carlos, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw that following kind of what the response from the community was. The city of Casselberry did issue an emergency order to waive those permitting fees
was
for 90
great,
days,
yeah.
which I think is a good step in the right direction. And, I think sometimes in the moment when you are making one of these types of posts, you're just trying to get out that information of saying, hey, just as a reminder, you need this permit, without necessarily thinking of how do we say this in the most sensitive way possible. But I'm glad that they were able to then waive those permitting fees and that people are able to get the help that they need and the relief that they need in order to make these repairs.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just add one comment before we move on. I get the frustration too. I was exhausted. We were all exhausted, and the thought of having to do that maybe just added to the exhaustion. But on the flip side, I want to say a couple of things, maybe just to readdress that and maybe anger the 5,000 angry people. I really don't mean to do that. But one, I think the city was kind of looking out for everybody's best interests in this, that if we do work without permits, then we can actually be hurting our neighbors rather than helping. And we can also be hurting ourselves, not our neighbors as well. And also, I just want to extend a little bit of grace to some of our leaders. They've been up for 36, 48 hours keeping us safe, based right here at the police station in the emergency management office. And I just want to thank them for what they did, and there's a lot of grace if this was a slip. So Casselberry made the news, sadly not for the most exciting reasons, but I think there was well-intentioned good heart between it. All right, we're getting closer and closer to having our guests here. They are from the improv troupe For First Names, but just to warm up for that interview, let's go to our next section, the dad joke of the week. And let's start with Aliyah.
So pretend to be surprised that I didn't already spoil what the joke was. But because this is coming out right before Election Day, where do penguins go to vote?
Where?
Oh, I might know this one.
The North Pole.
The North Pole.
Just on theme with the season.
There we go. Very good.
Not to be that person, but penguins actually live at the South Pole.
All right, the South Pole.
Oh, Robin, you are that person. You are that person. And because of that, you're going to have to put up with Carlos's joke next.
Yeah.
Okay. I
wanted to stay on theme too, but about the fact that we're back at the Casselberry Police Department here recording. Did you all hear, and Andy, you may have because of your involvement with the police department, that they are ordering 1,000 bees?
1,000 bees?
Yeah.
What?
They're getting ready for a sting operation.
Hey, that's funny.
Robin is yawning.
That was bad timing. That's actually funny.
Carlos, you and I are sitting at opposite sides of the table, and I didn't quite hear that. But the reason for that is I went to see my doctor the other day, and he told me, sadly, just to be vulnerable with you both, that I'm slowly going deaf.
What?
Yeah, it was really hard for me to hear. All right, let's bring the real comedians in. But first, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor.
Calling all foodies and wine lovers. Get ready for the 14th Annual Food and Wine Festival hosted by the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce.
Clink, clink, clink.
Join us on November 11th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the beautiful Lake Concord Park in Casselberry. Savor delicious food and sip on exquisite wines from local vendors, all for just $30. Want to showcase your business or restaurant? There's still time to participate. Email us at castleberrychamber2003@gmail.com for more information. Ready to indulge? Grab your tickets now at castleberrychamber.com. Don't miss out on an unforgettable evening of culinary delights. That's the 14th Annual Food and Wine Festival, where flavors come alive.
Where flavors come alive!
All right. Welcome back, listeners, to your favorite part of the podcast, which is the interview with our very special guests today, Richard Paul and Chris Berry of For First Names. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Carlos, I think before we need to jump in, we just need to explain For First Names.
Yes.
So just introduce our two guests slowly.
So let's explain that. Let's start with that. Let's explain why For First Names, Richard Paul and Chris Berry. Together you have four first names.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Which is a wonderful, wonderful name. Very clever, and I love it. And I think, Richard, you technically have three first names.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't mention
that stage name. I mean, if you want, I could go with four myself, just with my middle name and my confirmation name, but I don't do that.
It's a topic of
Two guys, 64 names. It's a wonderful thing.
It's a topic of controversy in the local improv community.
Wow.
We all say, well,
Improv
there's more
drama.
For first.
The only letter that we don't have is Z in any of them, I think.
Really?
I'm assuming.
I love it. So we'll get started with question number one already, and we're going to get to know you as we progress throughout this conversation. We wanted to know, kind of to start off, if the cast at Saturday Night Live were to do a skit on you, who would play you and why?
Oh my goodness. You're making the huge assumption that I can name cast members in the current cast of Saturday Night Live.
I don't think they've ever had an Indian cast member yet. So I guess it would be Kenan Thompson.
All right.
And for me, I don't know. That's a good question. Who do you think would play me? I don't know.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, either Taron Killam, who was a past,
Yeah.
or oh no, what's his name? Bobby Moynihan. He'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd be great. Yeah.
I'm sure all our listeners are grabbing their phone right now and searching out images of those two folks.
Oh, okay.
so they
Chris Farley.
I think Taron Kellum would be.
So I'm sure you make a lot of people laugh. And I don't know, this might be a hard question, but what is the weirdest place that you've made someone laugh?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the weirdest, but the most unexpected place for me was about probably close to 15 years ago. We did a show. We were doing something called playback theater that Richard founded in Central Florida. It was created up in the Hudson Valley, New York. And playback theater is a form of improv that's not comedic. It's based on dramatic improv. And we were doing a show for
Caregivers.
caregivers at Hospice of the Comforter. And it's, and as you'd expect, it was a very serious, heavy topic. But some of the funniest stories came out of some of those conversations. So that for me was unexpected.
Yeah, the wildest place I've ever made people laugh at was during a wake. We, for some reason, we were doing an improv show on a boat during a wake where then they would then spread the ashes. Yeah, that was the wildest place. That would be
You
the
know,
wildest
I think
place.
I heard about that show. I heard people were dying to see it. Cut that out if it's not appropriate, Robin.
All right, so you guys
No,
obviously,
you keep it in there. You be proud.
so you guys have been together a long time, 15 years at least.
We first met in 2007 when Richard was actually my level 3 teacher at SAC. I was going through improv classes at SAC Comedy Lab.
Okay.
And Richard was my level 3 teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then over the years, Chris had ideas about doing work together, and then finally we started working together. And then what was amazing is that we started traveling around the country, performing at improv comedy festivals and to
Wakes
date,
and
we had-
wakes.
We had and wakes, yeah. And so 50, I think it was near.
It's more than 50 cities, and I think it's 21 states, 17 or 21 states, but I think close to 60 cities now.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
traveling
amazing.
and doing improv and musical improv and everything else that we could kind of imagine.
Yeah.
That would explain all the screaming fans outside our recording studio, because they know you're here. You know how I know you guys are good? Because I said like 3 words of my question that was a 2-parter, and you answered both parts.
Ah.
That was very impressive improv right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're trying.
You kind of answered this already, but what kind of prompted you to set up your own troupe? You know, as a duo.
For me, it was just, I'd had a good connection with Richard and several other people, but I remember doing some scenes together with him, and I thought we had really good chemistry, and I said, it would be fun to do a show with him, and I approached him about doing something together, and I literally thought it'd be a one and done show, and as he said, here we are, almost 60 cities later, and however many years together, performing as a duo, and doing beyond improv. We've done a lot of things. We've done corporate training, and we've expanded our palette quite a bit. So it's been fun.
And we even have worked together outside of our group in other improv groups, but also in sketch comedy groups as well. So, but they all seem to know us as a pair. And you're right. It was supposed to be like maybe a one-time thing, and Chris just hasn't been able to get rid of me. And I feel so bad for you, man.
If we can help mediate any problems, you let us know. 'Cause,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
do that. Can I ask a little follow-up question? So what was it that attracted you both to improv as you took those first steps?
Well, for me, actually, I'm sure we have very different answers to this because we came to improv at very different stages in life. And for me, I had I had already started my corporate career and had been married and divorced, and I was on. I had started dating again. I was on a date, and this woman that I was dating at the time, she asked me, "What's something that you always wanted to pursue that you never tried?" And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, "Oh, you know what, comedy." And I actually started trying out stand-up comedy, and I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I say but with a huge asterisk. The at the amateur level, where where you start in stand-up like everyone does, and doing open mic nights, I quickly discovered that there was I don't want to say a ceiling, but a certain pattern developed among quite a few performers. So I took pride in trying to change up my routine and change up things from week to week as I would come up with new material as best I could. And I was at one of these open mic nights actually in Altamont Springs, and there was a guy there. He came up to me while we were waiting. We were sitting at the bar having a drink, waiting for our turn to go on stage. And he had seen me before, and he said, "Have you ever thought about doing improv?" And I had not. I had been to see a show with my ex-wife, and I had tried one when I still lived in New York before I moved to Florida. I had tried one improv class, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it, but never thought I would pursue it more than just kind of this little hobby thing. So literally the next week, I signed up for classes at SAC, and I started. That was in 2006. I started doing classes at SAC, and that was late 2006. And I still did stand up until about 2011. I did both, and then I just strictly moved over to doing improv only.
Love it.
Yeah, for me, I think it was the most conscious moment or event was in middle school. I somehow got into a play. I had never done a play before. It was called Cinderella Wore Combat Boots. Oh. So it was a satire comedy, but written very dated, obviously, for the 60s and the 70s. As like Gloria Steinem was one of the punchlines. And so in middle school, you don't understand what you're saying. But
middle school satire, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what was that night before the play was to premiere, the student who was supposed to be the narrator, which was about a third of the show, got expelled for fighting. And so I only had a bit part, and then the drama teacher, Mr. Rivet, said, "Here." The picture, he looked like Warren Beatty, right? But with a scowl on his face, like he didn't want to be at the school. And he said, "Here, you're going to be the narrator," which also included the fairy godmother part. And so the best we could do is music stand. I get a huge book and then put the script in the middle. But something miraculous happened. Somehow I memorized it in one night. I'd never been able to have that retention again. But throughout, there were moments where I started making things up when I was away from the book. And at one point, I had a clown wig, and I took it. And when I was going back to the narrator mode, I grabbed it off my head and I threw it into the wings, but I didn't realize that I tossed it, and it drove like a line drive into Mr. Rivet's face. And he took the wig, and he was honestly angry. He took the wig and he threw it, and it hit me, right, while I was on stage, and the audience had this huge laugh. And afterwards, my only reflection about that moment was, there's a thrill in coming in last minute and adapting to a situation that was tough for everybody. And I think that was my first taste for what improv could be, is those moments where no one knows what's going on. You can have the best intentions and the best laid plans, and it could go all up in smoke. But then what you do with it is really the fun part. And whether it's partially scripted or this might happen in your everyday life, it's how you throw that clown wig.
Yeah, I love it.
that really kind of determines your outcome.
Yeah.
So that was my first real feel for it, and then later on would discover SAC Comedy Lab.
And that same sentiment was what struck a chord with me too. As by the way, Mike Navarro is the the guy that's responsible for my improv career. So I apologize, Mikey, for forgetting your last name temporarily.
A fun and wonderful performer in his own right.
Mike's a phenomenal guy. It's just a great human
and an
being,
awesome dad.
Human being, great dad, and a really fun performer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that experience where, and I enjoyed stand up, but stand up I was by myself when I was doing material that I prepared, and I would improvise some of it. But what really found me with improv was the intellectual challenge of not knowing what you're going to say and do until you hear a suggestion from the audience, and B, having to do it with someone else. So we get a suggestion, and someone might give a suggestion of chair, and I could think of 3 things immediately in my head, and Richard would think of 3 things immediately in his head, and we have to make that work together. And that magic, that chemistry of making those things jive together is what drew me to it, and it's what I still love about it to this day.
Love it.
I know improv would probably benefit me to kind of be able to think quicker on my feet and be able to adapt. And I know a lot of people think that improv is just about telling jokes, and I know you kind of already touched on it, but tell me some of like the benefits to improv.
Oh, absolutely. It's certainly a confidence builder for certain. You are able to think quicker on your feet. There are many different drills that we use in improv and techniques that we use in improv that translate to everyday life. And as I mentioned earlier, we do some corporate training and are able to utilize improv techniques to help people in companies solve problems and or with people with public speaking that want to improve their public speaking. But the first and foremost is that confidence. If you start taking some improv classes, you're going to be more confident in your ability to be able to react very quickly to things that you don't necessarily know are coming.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest benefits is that it teaches you not to be stuck in the past. I think a lot of times what happens to people is that we get stuck in one way of thinking. We get stuck in patterns or mindsets and then limiting beliefs, and they sort of kind of they dictate a lot of times your choices, where in improvisation is to take something and then be inspired and to generate. So you're going into generative thinking. Something that I'd like to steal from a person that I have a lot of profound respect for. Her name is Dr. Karen Tilstra. She often says that improv really does help people and give people the skills, the tools, and then the mindsets to create something new. Wow. Or to adapt in your situation. One particular thing that I think is really helpful, been helpful to me lately, is just using prompts. Using the idea of a prompt, like we go to an audience member and we say, hey, give us a day of the week, or name a planet that's never been named before. We get a prompt from them, and then that inspires, we say off the spot, what we call spot prov. We inspire on the spot. But if you give yourself a prompt, such as like even a question, what's really going on here? Or when you're talking to someone and they're telling you a story, but there's more to it, you might say, tell me more. And little language tools like that start to open up. And that's one of the cool things. So there's a lot of tools that are taught in improv that you can actually apply to real life and get really great results.
I love that. So as this episode goes out, we're looking very closely down the barrel of an election. And one of the things that the election has revealed...
I'm out.
Yeah, it's not a political question, I promise. But one of the things the election has revealed is that we don't communicate as well as we could and should. If you had a megaphone to the U.S. and you could give like 2 minutes of communication tips, what would you want to say to folks about how they can do a better job of communicating?
For me, the very first thing would be take a breath before responding. Hear something, don't say anything, let it sink in, take a breath, and then put yourself not necessarily in that other person's shoes, but in other people's shoes, and realize that there are so many different points of view, and we all can look at things from a different perspective, and we all have different backgrounds. And one of the things we use in improv is where was your character before this moment in this scene? Where was this person saying this thing to you that is perhaps inflammatory to you? What are they coming from? Did they just barely miss a car accident? Did they have a car accident? Where they just let go from their job? What was it? Let's try to put yourself in a mindset saying, A, I'm not going to respond immediately. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to take a breath. But B, there are other ways to look at things, and I may not agree with them, but at least I acknowledge that they exist.
That's a very real world application to improv right now. Anything to add?
Yeah, boy, 2 minutes. It's such a complex world, right? It's very complex. So 2 minutes. I would like for people to know, or maybe to ask themselves, what do they have? What do they need to let go of, and what do they need to let come or let emerge? Because I think a lot of our challenges is we're stuck in our mindsets of the past, and I even think like that was like part of Jesus's message was step away from the old thinking. The old thinking got us here, but as Marshall Goldsmith, who's a great leadership expert, would say, "What got you here won't get you there." And at the same time, let's take some of Roger Martin's integrative thinking. He's a great leadership and creativity expert, and let's do integrative thinking. Let's take the best of your ideas, and let's take the best of my ideas. And rather than focusing on the cons, let's see if we can put the best of each of our ideas together. So there isn't compromise. We're actually creating something new.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of going back to what Chris was saying earlier. So taking the best of ideas, of opposing ideas, and then putting something together that is remarkably different and new, and kind of like rising out of the old ashes.
Both brilliant ideas. Yeah. We should have shed them about a year ago. That would have been great.
Right. And if I could really quickly add one other thing, and that is try to find some common ground. We might not be the same type of person. We might have different backgrounds, we might have different jobs, but we both don't like broccoli. That's something in common, right? Boom, let's go with that. Let's start there and then move on.
And I would add to that was a great example of what I wanted to say was also, that was a great example of let's not take ourselves too seriously. When we take ourselves too seriously, we now actually are going to go to levels of paranoia, of hysteria, distrust, and then making the other the enemy, right? So if we can laugh at ourselves, and not for the sake of being whimsical, but actually make sure that we temper our pressure and our anxiety, we can go, we actually go into fields of forgiveness.
That's profound thoughts.
Oh well,
That's
see,
good.
the other thing is that so Chris, more than just an improviser, he's a longtime business leader and has done a lot of study under with different leadership models, and we can see how improv's integrated. And I myself come from a background of creative problem solving and working with organizations. So, but improv is permeates through all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you talk about that with the creative problem solving and corporations, for example, when you talked about going into these corporate spaces and doing trainings, what would you say are some of the benefits specifically to a business or a workplace culture when you do teach them improv?
One, Richard touched on a little earlier, and that is to get out of the rut of the way you always think of things and the way the company always thinks of things. And if there's a sameness in the way that they approach problem solving, that tends to lead to similar results no matter what the issues are. And if they're able to take a fresh approach and come at it from different angles and realize, there's another way to look at this, it would open up a whole new world of possibility.
Knowing the context, like in the world of theater, improv, right, is in context, but oftentimes people go, ooh, improv games, and business, that's immature. But if I can give you a different language, but it's really kind of the same thing, maybe it might make people more relaxed. So with improv, you have to instantly create a scene. There's no rewriting a sketch. So in business, I would say using the skills of rapid prototyping. So if you have an idea, taking your idea and building a little prototype. It could be a story map. It could be a journey map, or it could be a model, and then getting that prototype back to your end users, and then having them test the prototype and getting the feedback, and then you're tweaking and iterating. If more people would prototype, you'd probably see expenses go down in organizations. You would see more clarity. You would see people are more action-based and not getting caught in the organizational sludge of decision making. Sorry, now I'm getting really nerdy here. But, most organizations are hierarchical in the U.S., right? They're top down, and the decision power is at the top, but the problems and the solutions happen in the front line. And so you got to connect the decision makers and what's really going on together. But you have middle management. Middle management, they're here to keep the status quo. And so now there's a lot of conflict. And so that's where like rapid prototyping just, hey, instead of trying to wait for perfect, trying to come up with the perfect SOP, let's just take a piece of paper, sketch out what we would want that workspace to look like, and then get it to 3 or 4 other people who work in the organization, and they're able to go, well, I would change it like this, and I'd tweak it like that. And now suddenly we've just created a solution that everyone in the organization can adapt to. That's the but part of the jobs that Chris and I have, we're constantly trying to translate what happens in improv can also happen in the business place, but we have to use words and nomenclature that make sense. Because if we use the word game, executives in the C-suite, they get really embarrassed, and then but it comes out as, oh, that's stupid.
They just glaze over. They don't want to deal with games.
Right. But if you were to say this is an engagement, or this is a creative activity, or this is a problem-solving activity.
Sure.
Now suddenly everyone goes, oh, okay. But then, really we have them doing Zip Zap Zop or something.
Yeah, and the other, and very much related to that also, is that you don't know where the great ideas are going to come from. So it really, what we try to do in these types of trainings is have a level playing field so that everyone is on the same level. And we did one in New York a couple months ago where, we even had the general manager of the entire group, and this was a group from all over the world, in the circle doing things, doing a rhyming circle with us. So for some of the people that report to him, to see him in that circle doing rhyming games with us, and that kind of thing, it gives them a level of comfort to say, hey, I can contribute. I'm not going to say something that I think is a stupid idea or that I'm afraid of because I think people might think it's a dumb idea. It really builds the confidence that, everyone's on the same page here, on the same level here.
You guys were both at the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce luncheon recently, and I had kind of coordinated the topic, and some of the feedback that we got before was, this kind of seems weird. Why would we have an improv group at our business luncheon? And I'm like, no, guys, trust me, it's going to be good. And I probably used the word game, which I shouldn't have. But it's funny to hear you guys and now. And then the feedback that we got, wow, I was actually really surprised. That was like really impactful for connection, and then I can take it back to my business. So it's funny how that they just had to trust the process.
Yeah, very much so, and that's part of it too. We did that luncheon with the Corner Gallery, and which is a new chamber member in itself, and it really is. It's a great way to connect. Again, there's a perfect example in people in that audience. It was such a wide array of different business types, but similar issues that they deal with, just maybe named different things. And if you could find that common ground, that commonality, you can help each other discover, we've tried this and this worked, that might be good for you, or we tried this and this didn't work for us, maybe it will work for you.
So I guess what we're seeing now more than ever is that people are getting more refined in their language. Right, so if you have language for something, then there's a lot of understanding, or there's a lot of, you're okay with it. For example, you know, when kids don't have language, they can often get frustrated. They know what they want, but they don't have the words. And then over time, you start to develop the words. So if we were to say there's theatrical improv, and then within that, there's comedy improv, and then playback theater, there's more dramatic improv. There's an improv in the workplace called applied improv. Now, that's a term that's new, about probably 15 years in existence, but it's slowly adapting in universities and colleges around the world. They're using now a term called improv leadership, where people can get even undergraduate degrees in it. But the idea now is we're seeing that more and more as people get language around it, then they go, oh, then the adoption's there, right? Or as they say a lot, it's like you have a fear, but until you name the fear, you can't conquer the fear. But once you name it, you can at least grasp the symptoms or the effects of a fear. So it's the same thing there. So the language is improving. So we're saying what we do is what's called applied improv.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. You've given all this great kind of theory, and it really makes sense. Bring it home with a story.
I'll make it very short. But in middle school, we had a little clown troupe. And we walked in, and some of us were nervous, and then some of the other students started crawling in and into this hospital room.
Yeah.
And this was an ICU room. And so people started entering in odd and unusual ways. So they're just kind of improvising and making things up at the moment. And the patient was this elderly Cuban woman who couldn't speak English. And she had been laid up in the ICU for many months. This was at the old Navy base hospital in Orlando.
Baldwin Park.
Yeah, many years ago. And we gave her little toys, and then we left. About a couple of months later, that the county given us an award for performing a civic duty or and giving back to the community, and I didn't understand why until our math teacher, Harvey Smirlson, who was the clown sponsor, explained that this lady, when she was young, in Cuba, was a part of a circus.
Wow.
And seeing the clowns brought back the memories, how she used to walk tightrope, and how her mom would do equestrian, and the clowns just started bringing back positive memories, and those positive memories started pushing her into new spaces of hope, and then suddenly she started feeling better and started walking and became ambulatory and started feeding herself, and so she had this kind of newfound. So that's one where I've seen how the power of improv in spontaneous moments like that can revive people in such a great way. One other story is that during playback, Chris was intimating this story. This lady, she was weeping about her husband who fell down, broke his hip, and his dementia just took a huge plummet. And she just eventually just watched them all the time. And one day she wanted a break, so she called a nurse to come over. She just wanted 2 hours at Starbucks, and she'd be right back. She gets to Starbucks, and she gets a call, and your husband won't listen. He won't eat his food, and now he has dropped his pants, and his pants are around his ankles. And she says, "Give me the phone," and she rips him a good one right over the phone, and hangs up, and then instantly feels guilty. 2 minutes later, gets a call back. "I don't know what you did, but now he is eating his food and his pants are around his waist." And she was telling us this story for the group to replay as a improv, and she was weeping. But once we saw the actors play out the story, it was hysterical. She was laughing. 85 people were hysterically laughing. Our improv partner Ron was playing the husband, and Ron was just brilliant. And we saw the power of not just improv, but how you share a story. When you share a story, it builds community.
Yeah, it was
And
cathartic,
It
too.
was cathartic.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so it really it's like the crisis of yesterday becomes the joke of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And afterwards, she was like, I didn't realize how funny that was. In the time, it was horrible. I felt like it was torture. But now, that was hysterical.
Yeah.
And she walked away. Tears dried. And like
I love that. I think
people
that's,
cheering her on like she was the hero. And it was
I think
great.
that's the definition of what it means when life mimics art, right? Or art mimics life. It was that. And literally, just by clowning around, you gave someone a second chance at life. And I just love the breadth and scope of where improv is touching people.
And I can say, also there's personal things, it's done for us. But we have troupe members that we work with in other troupes, like the Corner Gallery, which is a member of the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce. The two of the founders met at an improv class and are now married.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's a heavy responsibility to bear, though, that you help them find each other.
I don't know if we did that, but it was really cool that they said that
I love it.
that they found each other. So you know what I mean? It's like there's more than the direct experience of improv.
It's more than a cheap laugh. It's changing lives. As we wrap up, tell us how people can connect with you, find out more about you, maybe, just maybe, have some of their life nudged forward, encouraged, changed, revived, whatever it is.
Sure. We are Four First Names, and we do a monthly show at the Casselberry Recreation Center in partnership with the Corner Gallery. And it's called Booked, and it's on the first Friday of every month at the Casselberry Recreation Center. And then the Corner Gallery has several shows that they perform and produce there as well. On the third Friday of every month, the Corner Gallery has a show called Diamond in the Rough. And then there are classes that we teach at the Casselberry Recreation Center on the first and third Wednesday of every month there. And several workshops and other things that they have going on. So look us up through Four First Names or the Corner Gallery.
Let me just also add that those shows are PG. They're intentionally so. We want to make sure the shows are accessible to everyone. Now, they're not boring, and the PG does not have to be boring. It can be very fun, entertaining, intellectually entertaining, and just good laughs. But we've made a commitment as being partners with the Corner Gallery that it shows that everyone can go to, and you can bring your whole family. Or just make it a night out with friends. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. There's such a wide offering of types of shows there. For example, there's one coming up that's called Corner Gals and Pals, which is the ladies of the Corner Gallery creating a show that's a improv / variety show. And then
we recently had a Spanglish show.
We had a Spanglish show,
cool.
and there's a comedy game show called History Bluffs that's coming back on the 22nd of November, and that is a history-centric game show that involves comedians. So there's really a lot of fun stuff going on in the community.
And people can find you on social media and the interwebs.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Richard, Chris, for your time. We really appreciate you sharing, your improv wisdom, and not only like you said, improv just kind of integrates into a lot of other spaces in life. So your wisdom overall in life with us, we appreciate what y'all are doing through Four First Names and the book show and your partnership with Corner Gallery and that partnership with the city. But yeah, thank you so much. We're really, 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 really glad to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Grateful.
Yeah. All right. Woo.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. That was great. We love what you're doing. We appreciate that you're part of our city. Listeners, as we prepare to wrap up, we have some words of wisdom, inspiration from our friend Carlos.
All right. Today's inspirational moment is actually a quote about laughter.
It's like we planned it that way.
Exactly. A day without laughter is a day wasted. Charlie Chaplin. Before I read this, I didn't realize Charlie Chaplin spoke, but I'll say it again. A day without laughter is a day wasted. Charlie Chaplin. I definitely think I resonate with that in such a difficult world that we sometimes live in, and with kind of all the ups and downs of life. To have laughter in your life is, one of those true, precious, and beautiful moments of life, and what can get you through the day.
Thank you, listener, for listening to 163 episodes of the What's Up Casselberry podcast. This podcast is hosted by Andy Searles, Alia Ray, and Carlos Pereiro, and produced by Robin Kepi. For more information, visit us at whatsupcasselberry.com. Until next time, have a great week.
Woohoo! Okay.